do it every year. It's like, oh, this team got beat here, so they didn't deserve X, Y, Z.
We deserve to be ranked higher, and we want some respect.
I would love to antagonize people and egg some people on and see what kind of chaos we can have in the stands.
FCS Fans Nation, number 1 versus number 2 Rabbits, Bison, a rock, and much more than just a rivalry. Welcome to the FCS Fans Nation podcast. We are live on a Sunday night, and boy, we are about to get into it. Folks have been waiting for this one for a long time outside of Fargo and outside of Brookings, because the impacts and the ripple effects of this game this weekend is going to be huge. And because we have a huge matchup, we had to send out the Rev signal and bring the Rev, not Alex, onto the screen tonight. So before we kind of kick into things, I just have to let you guys know, if you're thinking you're going to hear Matthew Frazee opinions tonight, you're not. Watch. Now, all the analytics for views go way up. I am saving all of my opinions for the Jackrabbit Illustrated B Squad podcast episode. I am so thankful to be invited on, and I will be on tomorrow night live on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to the FCS Fans Nation Network, or if you're not following Jackrabbit Illustrated, follow them. I will be their Bison guest, as is tradition, to break down the Bison, break down the Jackrabbit matchup. It's going to be with Thumper and Alex and Chad and all the boys. It's going to be a ton of fun with Ben. So all my opinions will be there. Make sure you prepare for it. And that, unfortunately, will make Jackrabbit Illustrated's viewership go down. But that's okay. We'll be all right.
Good.
So I'll get all the clerical stuff out of the way. FCS Gold Survivor Pool, we only have 17 people that remain. One was a non-select, our great Seth Meyer, and Incarnate Word, Doomed Wade. So there you go. I thought we'd have a lot more sticking around, but a little over halfway through the season, only 17 people have a shot at the $50 Visa gift card, which is the grand prize. Admins were never allowed to win, but there is not a single podcaster or admin who is still in this Survivor pool. So you guys are listening to the wrong show. Thankfully, though, we are sponsored by an incredible new business that Kyler's going to tell us about right now.
Well, I figured we'd change it a little bit. We are a little over halfway through the season, which means there's a lot of teams that have completely died, and it's time for a little funeral segment. So here we go, the first team in the funeral segment. We gather here today to remember Richmond football. Once proud, now powerless. 1-3 in the Patriot League after getting buried by an 0-6 Holy Cross. They left the CAA chasing glory, and they found mediocrity, but with better lighting and a much better streaming channel. Turns out you can't outrun being soft. You can just export it. The Spiders used to strike fear in the FCS, and now they can't even scare the scoreboard operator. They left the Charmin Athletic Association only to bring the same two-ply defense with them. Meanwhile, Renegade Hydrate doesn't fold under pressure. It is built different. Real electrolytes, real performance, and no sugar-filled excuses. When your legs give out, your season collapses like the Spiders, and your fan base starts Googling basketball season, Renegade's still standing. Renegade Hydrate, fueling the fighters, not the flight risk. Stay bold, stay ruthless. Don't be Richmond. Squash the Spiders.
Wow. Well done. Well done. Make sure you click in the link below to not only join FCS Gold for 99 cents a month, but get yourself some Renegade. Well done, Kyler. Guys, I'm excited to hear your opinions tonight. While I won't be talking much, I get to enjoy the beautiful knowledge you're about to give us. Let's get right into it. Let's get into the top 6 topics.
What are FCS fans talking and posting about nonstop? It's time for the top 6 topics of the week.
I mean, we cannot start it any other way than the great Taco King with the number 1 question for Marker Week. And that's exactly where we're going to kick things off, guys. So he says, Brian Thompson, it is Marker Week 1 versus 2. Will NDSU show up in the first half? Will South Dakota State give up numerous explosive plays? Murray State had 8 plays of 15 yards or more, with 2 being 60-plus yard scores. SDSU seems to have tackling issues. Along with, how far does the loser drop in the polls if it's a multi-score win or a one-score game? And Rev also had mentioned that NDSU is known for their slow starts and second-half adjustments. does that play into SDSU's favor? Okay, there's a lot to unpack there, so I'm going to break it down into 3 bullet points for our fans and let you guys have at it. Vulnerabilities for each of these teams, X factors for victory, and at the end, we'll go through those first 2. At the end, we're going to talk about what will be the impacts in the polls depending on this game. So, Rev, we've got you on here first. Vulnerabilities you see in the number 1 and number 2 team in the nation, and X factors for victory. And let me give you a little context before I let you run. Total defense, NDSU is 2nd and South Dakota State is 4th. Total offense, NDSU is 4th and South Dakota State is 33rd. Strength of schedule, NDSU is 54th, South Dakota State 38th. And it just seems to be that quarterbacks make the matchup in these. So I figured I'd throw in Chase Mason at 18th for quarterback efficiency, Cole Payton for 1st. That is a pretty even matchup. Rev, what do you got?
Well, I had written down all these things about this game, about total offense and total defense and quarterback ratings and why you shouldn't watch this game. Because you shouldn't. If you like really good football, you should watch this game. But if you like terrible football, there's other games you should watch. But since Matt took my damn thunder on this, let's talk about vulnerabilities. To me, the biggest vulnerability that I see potentially with these two is really for South Dakota State, it's their offense game versus NDSU's defense. And that's not saying South Dakota State has a bad offense. It's just, to me, this is a battle. This is going to be a defensive-driven battle. And whenever I look at the weapons that the schools have, I think, God, Taco King's going to own me for this, but I think Cole Payton's a better quarterback right now than Chase Mason. You've got Bryce Lance. We've got Bryce Lance. And also, too, Payton has got a lot of folks he can throw to. He's got a lot of targets. So to me, maybe that's the vulnerability for South Dakota State. But I think an X factor for South Dakota State is they have, in my opinion, played a better schedule, a tougher schedule than North Dakota State. I know the numbers are closer now, but earlier this year, they were drastically far apart when it came to strength of schedule. This is going to be the toughest team North Dakota State's faced all year. I guess the same for South Dakota State, but South Dakota State also had Montana State as well. So I think, I think South Dakota State's probably a little more sharper when it comes to how tough they are based upon their schedule. That could benefit them. North Dakota State has had some very slow starts. I mean, their first half against Indiana State, the weather was lousy, but that still was atrocious. And then they've adjusted in the second half, but it's happened just about every other game they've had this year. So I think those are honestly the biggest vulnerabilities and X factors. But I really do think it's going to be a more heavily defensive game versus offensive game. And I think the biggest X factor is whose defense can step up the most.
And we are uncertain on this Chase Mason injury situation. Hopefully he's okay. We want him at as much full strength as possible so we get the best of the best when these two face off. Jamie, you have any disagreements on the Rev there, or what do you want to expand on?
No, I'm not really concerned about the slow starts for NDSU. I think it's, they haven't really had to worry about it too much, but they're going to have to this week. And at the end of the day, there's a 4-quarter game, so halftime adjustments are big, and good coaching staffs adjust and don't allow as much in the second half. Kind of like the game I went to yesterday. But I am really concerned about the health of Chase Mason. Hopefully we'll get some information on that. That's the X factor. If he doesn't play, whatever the spread is, just put NDSU in your parlay if you're of that type of mind. He's got to play. Cole Payton has been phenomenal until yesterday when he was really awful. He threw a pick, so that was just terrible. But yeah, I think the way that Cole Payton's played, along with, like Rev said, just the variability of the weapons. You've got multiple receivers you can go to. I believe South Dakota State, they're going to probably try to lean on Julius Lowridge and see if they can get the ball out to guys like Godrowski a little bit here and there. But they're going to try to work the run game. And if Chase Mason isn't available, he's not going to be able to obviously be part of that run game, which is going to be really important for South Dakota State. So I think that the big factor is Chase Mason. It's obvious, and it's the easy plate to go with this answer, but you kind of have to start there. Every team starts at a quarterback. And there's a big gap between Chase Mason and what comes behind him versus, even on the North Dakota State side, people really like Nathan Hayes. So if something were to happen to Cole Payton, they feel like Nathan Hayes could just step in and make some plays. But hopefully Mason will be able to play.
Kyler, I'm really curious if you look at last year, it's probably as close as those teams could have ever been. You could argue if those games are in Brookings, it goes the other way. I mean, you're talking a thin margin down to the wire, and South Dakota State really had NDSU's number for half a decade. It was a lot of those games not feeling super close. So what has changed this year to last year and what you're seeing? They're both still incredible, but has there been any drop-offs? Are there vulnerabilities in these areas? What do you see?
I mean, the big vulnerability is everything that they're just talking about is Chase Mason, right? When he left, unfortunately, with an injury against Murray State, who is an abysmal of a team. I don't even know if they play FCS football. But you're looking at South Dakota State, who's had a pretty decent offense and a strong defense all season long. And when they played Murray State against, of course, it was their quarterback for most of the game. Well, now they've given up. They scored the least amount of yards compared to any FCS team that Murray State's played, right? Now, it's still a impressive, offensive performance, 460 yards. But everyone else has been 480, 500, 560, and plus against that Murray State defense. So having Chase Mason gone is definitely potentially going to be the deal breaker. And if he's there, I think the game becomes a little more interesting. I think NDSU is still a more complete team. I think they're stronger on offense than SDSU this year, and it seems like that's the team to beat. But if he's gone, I don't even think this might be that competitive. I don't know if SDSU would score. I get it's a rivalry game. I get it's at Brookings. But that is the X factor in this game. Now, I do want to touch base a little bit, do a little segment here called everyone says this is always such an important game, right? Matt just said it in the very beginning of this podcast too. Oh, no, the loser might get a 3 seed. F off. This game is not important to anyone. It's just cool to have 2 top-tier teams. But the loser's not going to be affected. They're going to go maybe a top 4 seed still. They'll still be a semifinal team. This game has no ramifications other than bragging rights between a rivalry. And you get a stupid little rock. That's all this game is. So
until Matt took my rants and my stats, I legit was going to bring that up as a rant. Like, nobody gives a damn about this game except for 2 states. And
even though we will all watch it.
Even though we're all going to watch it, yeah.
This is by far the best game to watch this week. It is fun when you see a top 1 versus 2 team. But in terms of ramifications, I don't really think there is any, especially if Chase Mason's playing. Who's beaten SDSU? That's not NDSU this year. I don't really see many teams that are going to be competitive in Brookings in the playoffs. So that's my only trolling part.
And look, if this game was really had that much impact, game day would be there instead of in Nashville. We all know that. That's just what happened. The game, it's
a new beast.
A mid-tier SEC game is what matters more than this. But in all seriousness, with Chase Mason, with Turf Toe, if he's back playing Saturday, I'll be interested to see how mobile they allow him to be. If they try to make him stay still in the pocket and not use his legs to not potentially further aggravate any sort of lingering part of that, because while they said it wasn't season injuring, turf toe can be one of those things that can escalate really quickly. So,
if we're talking about turf toe in 2018, again, we'll talk about Eastern Washington. Gage Gubrud went down, and he was about to have a historic season in 2018. He went down with turf toe. We thought it was going to be a week by week, and it ended up being the rest of the season. And luckily, we had Eric Barrier to lead us, to the national championship game out of nowhere. But turf toe can be a real issue, especially if you're a mobile quarterback, one that's going to try and escape, or one that you need to put both your feet down to get a little bit of that extra power. Yeah, I mean, turf toe could be an interesting discussion that maybe not just fine the next day.
That is I have so much to say. Tune in tomorrow. You guys did a phenomenal breakdown. It's just,
I hope we get cocky Matt back.
Yeah,
I want to be part of.
He's been so scared against SDSU the last 5 years. Hopefully, we get a cocky Matt back.
Hey, I've picked them right many times. Jackrabbit Illustrated, B Squad podcast on YouTube on this exact channel tomorrow night, 9:30. That's where you'll find my opinions on that. I'm very excited for the matchup. Okay, we've been accused of this many times.
Being an SDSU NDSU podcast?
Yes, but talk about the other team in the Dakotas that is off-color green. And we always say, if you ask the questions, we will answer. Now, a lot of our questions do come from FCS Gold. And for UND fans, 99 cents is a lot of money because, big student loans and the job market's rough if you come out of that university. Okay, there's the one. All right, here you go. Dylan wants to know. He wants to know. The most hilarious scenario is left in a timeline, which is UND beating SDSU and NDSU at home. Are the Hawks and should the Fighting Sioux, as he says, be legit contenders? Okay, here you go, Dylan. I'm going to help you out. Despite my little crap talk, UND is 27th in total offense, 19th in total defense. They are 22nd ranked, tied amongst like 10 other teams for sacks alone. I thought that was important because we're in the Valley, and the offensive line is always important. They have a good offensive line. They have 2 sophomores on offense, quarterback and running back. Jerry Kaminsky, he's 19th in quarterback efficiency. He's thrown 17 touchdowns. Sophomore Sawyer Sadil, you say that right? Sadell. 444 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns. Lance Rucker, their junior defensive end, has 4 sacks, and they are 5-2 with top 25 wins over Youngstown and Southern Illinois. Their only losses are a 1-point loss to top 5 Montana on the road and a 3-point loss to FBS Kansas State in the final 40 seconds. They have the 9th ranked strength of schedule in the FCS, according to Massey. That is a lot. Is it all for nothing if you guys aren't convinced they can't beat NDSU or SDSU at home? Kyler, break down the Fighting Hawks. They are the hot team. They're a top 10 team. Let's talk about them.
Listen, UND is probably the best they've ever been. I mean, they look the part this year. I mean, I was kind of shocked that Montana had to come back at the end, but they looked like they were controlling Montana for most of that game too until they just kind of collapsed. But playing at Wild Grizz is just a different beast. But against, Youngstown State, where SDSU struggled, they didn't struggle. Against Southern Illinois, they controlled the whole game, and it wasn't really that competitive. UND looks like they could be the real deal. Now, when I say real deal or the best team UND's ever faced, it is nice that they're going to get the Dakotas at home, right? I don't think that game it'd still probably be competitive, but it'd make it a lot more interesting since it's at home than if they had to go to, the Dakota Dome or they had to go all the way down to Brookings and play at, Dick House, whatever that stadium's called. So, yeah, the Fighting Hawks look the real deal, but I don't know if they're a title contender. I think they're definitely a top 8 team. I think they can definitely go far. I think depending on the matchups, if they'd have to go to like a Montana State and Bozeman in the quarters, I don't know if they're getting past Montana State. I don't know if they would get past Montana again in the quarters. Montana looks like they're actually playing a little better. But again, compared to the rest of what else is out there, you have Tarleton, you have the Dakotas, and you have the Montanas. I don't think there's another team that's really going to match the caliber that this UND Fighting Hawks is performing at this year. They look the part, and if someone has a bad game against them, that's what's going to potentially happen. If NDSU comes out there and they're a little sluggish, that's where this Fighting Hawk team can maybe expose you and, fight you pretty hard and then maybe come out there with a dub. I wouldn't bet on it, but they should be the only team that's going to scare the Dakotas in this valley. I mean, they look the part. They look like the real deal, and you got to give props to them because they've kind of been up and down. They've been a good home team, bad away team. They're playing extremely well on the road this year, and they're playing really lights out at home.
Yeah, that is shocking.
So this team, I think, Matt, it was podcast year 1 or 2 when we started this, when we were talking about what team is going to basically become a outlier or maybe, just this dominant force. And your guess was North Dakota, and you were falling flat on your face, but maybe you were just 8 years behind schedule because this is 8th year of doing this stupid podcast. Maybe you're just 7 years behind schedule. But this UND team does look like they are the real deal to at least scare everyone who's going to face them. I don't know about winning a national title, but they're not a team that you want to face, especially in the home field of the little dome way up north, the most northern dome in the planet.
Yeah, we've talked about how incredible they are at home. And yeah, was their transition out of the Big Sky into the Missouri Valley when that question was asked about who could be great. And, Bubba was an average coach. That's all he was. And when he left and they got their new guy in place and the players that they've recruited, they've got some opportunities here. Jamie, you excited about this UND squad? I mean, a top 8 seed coming down the road, especially if they upset one of those big Dakotas?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of finally ready to support the NDSU or NDSU. Good gosh, sorry,
Wow.
guys in
Love it.
Grand Forks.
Love it.
Wow.
You know
Say it
that
again.
happens. Who cares? They're in the same state. Don't care. They're all Canadian. But yeah, I'm kind of on the UND is good bandwagon. I mean, I've been waiting for them to win a big road game. Thought they had one at Montana. They got one yesterday, and it wasn't even that close, really. They had that game in control from start to finish. And that's a good Southern Illinois team, or maybe it's not. We'll find out. Maybe they're just okay. But that's a game that North Dakota usually loses over the last few years, and they didn't. They really, locked it down. They put it away, and I'm a big Kaminsky fan. Dude is playing phenomenal, and their defense is better than you realize. It is a good defense, and they should scare the piss out of the Bison and the Jackrabbits. Not saying they're going to beat one or both of them, but they damn well could. But it would be just like them to go down to the ugly Dakota Dome and lose in Vermillion.
I put them as my 6th rated team this week. Is that crazy?
No, I think that's probably where they're going to be for
Probably
me.
going to be for me, yeah.
To me, it's like, do you guys have they turned the tempo? I'm not going to. It's lazy to go North Dakota State, South Dakota State. I'm wondering, at South Dakota, does that worry you at all, based off what you've seen, Rev? Like,
No.
The road woes of the past, all these things, or are you just chalking that up as easy as Indiana State?
I don't. Given what's going on with South Dakota, I almost said state, and I caught myself on like some others. But what's going on with South Dakota this year?
We need more parity, and we won't mess this up.
No, I mean, most other years I would worry about them playing outside of the mail sorting center that they play in, but this year, no, it's a different team. It's a different club. I mean, and Jerry Kaminsky's an absolute stud. He's thrown one pick this year, and that was against Montana. He's got better numbers for the most part than Cole Payton. Like, let's be 100% honest here. So no, I'm not worried about them going to Vermillion. The only thing I really worry about with that game would potentially is if they start viewing that as almost like a trap, like, because they're focused on everything else. But getting North Dakota State and getting South Dakota State in Grand Forks, that really does help the opportunity for an upset. And if there's a team I think that would be more vulnerable to it, it's South Dakota State out of the two. Because I think North Dakota's defense has played well. Their offense is pretty electric. If I'm looking ahead, if I'm calling an upset, that would be the one I would call. I think that they can keep up with their brothers. I'm not going to say bigger brother, little brothers. I'm not getting involved in that BS that y'all do about who's a flagship or not. But you know what? They may not be great this year, but much like their town, they're going to be grand. NDSU or North Dakota looks a lot better than they have in previous years.
I see what you did there.
Thank you.
I will say,
I need more beer.
Going back to the last segment, I'll end this one by saying we talked about the impacts of the Dakota Marker game. The winner of, at least the fans, okay, players don't think like this. The fans will go, okay. So we go get upset in Grand Forks. We're still a top 2 seed. We're gonna be fine. We'll be 11-1. The loser of the Marker is gonna go, oh shit, we have to win in Grand Forks.
For sure.
Like, we have to. So there's gonna be a lot of pressure if you're the loser of the Marker in those regards. A team that faces no pressure because they destroy everybody, yet people call them a paper tiger. Let's see. Paul says Tarleton finally faced a good team by record and destroyed them. Is Tarleton the incarnate word of this year? That's the comp he wants to go with. For some context, guys, Tarleton's strength of schedule is 36. Their future strength of schedule by the end of the season, according to Massey, will be 29th, while North Dakota State's will be 22nd. So the idea that strength of schedule is nothing is not a good narrative. Jamie, I saw the flinches come from you first. Kick us off with Tarleton. What do we got?
I mean, I am so damn tired of defending this team. They are doing every freaking thing that you could ask of them against who they've played so far. They've got a couple of ranked teams left. West Georgia should have been one, and they kind of crapped the bed and rightfully didn't get the benefit of the doubt to stay in the poll. That's okay. I'm okay with that. But, they've got a couple ranked teams coming up. They got Abilene Christian. They've got Austin P. So they'll get their opportunity. And a top 30 overall schedule is and only 8 off of the number 1 team and 1 or 2 off of Montana. That's not enough for some of these teams if they lose a game to stay ahead of them. Now, they might, but I still think if you look at what the committee did, and we won't talk too much about it because I think somebody might have asked a question later. If not, we can talk about it. The committee has said right now they've got Tarleton at 3. Now, does that mean it's locked in stone if they went through undefeated and that's just where they have to be? No, but when it's close, I feel like, they're going to stick with what they've shown. They're showing you based off the metrics they have in front of them that's where they see it. I mean, Army, I think they probably lost yesterday, but if you looked at, go listen to Sam Herder's podcast when you talk about the rankings, and he really broke this down well. And I know he referenced Sagarin, and I don't love Sagarin, but Army's ahead of North Dakota, and they're ahead of, I believe, even South Dakota State. So the best win of that group between them and the Montanas is still right now Tarleton, and they are just hammering people. And I see somebody said, don't forget they struggle with Southern Utah. So did damn near everybody else but UC Davis that they played.
Yeah.
The Southern Utah just didn't finish any games until last night. Thank God they finally finished one off. But if you take 3 plays in Southern Utah, you're talking completely different about Tarleton, because that looks like a much better win. It's still it's but you are who your record says you are, and Southern Utah's 2-5, so that is what it is. But you just want to look at only records, but you got to look at what a team is sometimes. And Tarleton is the 3rd team by the committee, and that's valid. I do have them at 5 behind the Montanas. I'm going to post they'll stay there on my ballot, but Tarleton has a resume on my personal ranking score that I create, a resume score. They're number 1. They've got the highest resume score, and part of it is because they had already played 8 games. Because on my resume score, you get the same. Actually, you get more points for a ranked win on the road than you do an FBS win, because I think that's more important in the FCS grand scheme. But their resume speaks for itself. People might not want to say that it speaks for itself because they get lost in the fact that they don't play in the Valley, they don't play in the Big Sky, but they deserve to be where they are in those rankings. That said, on a neutral field, I would take a few teams above them, and they're all from the Big Sky and the Valley, and that's okay too. But when you look at resume, and the committee has shown they will go off of the resume, and they've got a good one, and I'm tired of defending them, and it's frustrating as hell.
Well, here we go. I believe Dallas can smack me in the side of the head if I'm wrong. I believe he's the one who's called this comp from Jackrabbit Illustrated. 2022 Sacramento State, who blows the pants off of Colorado State that year for an FBS win, goes undefeated, and they put 1 loss South Dakota State in front of them in that season, and they're the 2 seed. Sac State's the 2 seed, and in, I believe, the highest scoring college football game of all time, 66-63, Incarnate Word beats them on the road. So is that a fair comp, Rev? Do you think right now that's a fair comp of what Sac State was then to what they are now?
No, because I remember, right, Sac State did, other than that FBS one, didn't play anybody tough in the Big Sky that year. They managed to dodge a lot of the teams. Tarleton, I get tired of this, and I get tired of defending a school I cannot stand. I can't stand their fans. I cannot stand the school. I cannot stand the system they're part of. But it is, especially Montana fans I'm talking to, you have got to shut up and stop. They have better wins than you do. I know you don't want to admit that. I know you think Army's a terrible FBS team, but Army is ranked, Jamie talked about it, ranked higher in Sagarin than anybody Montana has played. Not to mention Montana fans, when you talk about strength of the schedule, you played effing Central Washington. Okay? Like, just stop, all right? Stop. I get that they're not a Valley team. I get that they're not a Big Sky team. But one thing I want to point out, and they've done these wins without Victor Gabalis. for half of the season. Their starting quarterback, who is a stud of a quarterback, has been out. They've been using what's his name? Greek. Their backup. Daniel Greek. Yeah, their backup. They've gone through a committee of running backs, so the Trey Page is the stud still. They're doing this without a starting quarterback, and just blowing the doors off of every team they play is something special. So to me, that's not a paper tiger type thing. That's let's see what else they can do. Now, are they going to potentially have to go prove it up north? Maybe. Depends on what the committee thinks. If they went out, they might slip into a 2 spot, and they may not have to worry about that. They might get to have people come down to Little Aggie Field in Stephenville instead the whole time. But again, people get so focused on the schedule. They get so focused on the conference. Stop. Take the team for what it is. Todd Whitten, SFA alumni, by the way, is a great coach. He's a great coach. He knows, and he's running a great offense out there in Tarleton. And they came in on a streak of success. Now, granted, they during transition, they did play quite a few D2, but they were the only one. They're the only team in transition that had a winning record all 4 years of transition. So even the last year when they were playing a full D1 schedule, they had a winning record. So, I don't want to keep defending them either because I don't like them. So please stop asking Tarleton questions, especially when I'm on the show, because I don't want to answer them anymore. Just let them play in the playoffs and just go from there.
Well, they only have, because they're a week ahead, everybody. Tarleton now sits with, they only have 4 games left in their entire season, if I'm correct on that. And that'll be it. They'll wrap up. So, Kyler, any final thoughts on the Texans? There's a little Twitter traction here, Kyler. You might end up being a VIP to one of the games.
Hey, we'll see if we can make it, swing it. But that Austin Peay versus Tarleton game is the one that's circled on the calendar. I think that one's going to be the real testament for Tarleton to see kind of what they're all about. But at the end of the day, I don't even like the comparison with UIW. And I'm going to say, here's the thing. Rev, you're making me defend Sac, which I hate you for. Sac State played everyone besides Montana State that year. And honestly, they probably could have even went toe-to-toe with Montana State. They were hammering everyone, and even when we go against that like UIW versus Sac State game, Sac State had almost 800 yards of offense versus UIW's like 580. They should have beat the shit out of them, to be honest. They just had some unfortunate turnovers go against them, but they were the better team than Incarnate Word even that year by a landslide. And I think if they would have got past that game, maybe hung on to one turnover, it would have been a different story for Sac State that year. They were pretty dang good and tried to tackle Cam Scattaboo and Dunaway and all this. They were.
I was thinking 2021. Sorry.
They were elite that year. Yeah. They had the best resume, the best strength schedule. I mean, they were elite. So thanks a lot for making me defend them, you bastard, especially after this weekend with their president. But no, this Tarleton's a real deal. I mean, at the end of the day, they're not like the Sam Houstons or the UIWs of the world. And UIW was a phenomenal squad that year, right? They should have probably beat NDSU. That was the same year where that play call was a little interesting, right?
Yeah. That was the year Cam Miller had one completed pass in the entire game. 1 for 12.
It was by
the way, if Sac State wins that game against Incarnate Word, NDSU travels to Sac State in that scenario, which would have been great. So we wouldn't have had to go to Frisco against the Rabbits. Okay, I'm off it. Back to you.
But this Tarleton team, they're not really struggling versus anyone. I get that the Southern Utah game was close for 3.5 quarters, but Tarleton pulled it out when they wanted. And again, they also had 160 more yards of offense than Southern Utah. And that was without their star running back and without their quarterback, who is now healthy. Tarleton looks like the real deal. They're blowing everyone out. Their offense is so damn elite. Like, they are going to be matched up with I don't even know if Jamie was talking about 2 Big Sky teams. I might only pick 1 Big Sky team on a neutral field against this Tarleton team. I don't think the other Big Sky team would probably go toe-to-toe with them, especially if it becomes a shootout. I think Tarleton just has too many weapons. They're elite. Their backups are more elite than most people's starters in this league. That's the reality of this Tarleton team.
I am curious why Montana, the Grizz specifically, are getting some sort of magic pass against this Tarleton comp. I'm very, Sacred Heart and how Montana looks for 3/4 of most games, doesn't give me any sort of oh yeah, they're going to be way better than Tarleton. I don't see that. personally.
No, and that's where I go. I think Tarleton matches up pretty well against Montana. I really do, especially on a neutral field. Now, Wild Grizz in December, I don't know, right? That's going to be a whole different beast if Tarleton has to go to Montana. If Montana somehow goes undefeated, I do think they would jump above Tarleton. I know Jamie and I disagree on that one. I think they would have the North Dakota win, which would be better than anything Tarleton has, and a Montana State win, which would be better than anything Tarleton has at that time. Yeah, 100%. You guys can shake your heads no on that one, but those are by far 2 better wins than anything Tarleton would have this year. That's just the reality.
I think the committee is going to value the Army win, though, over the fact that Montana plays Central Washington. I think they are legit going to put a higher value on that.
I don't think they would. I think if they beat 2 top 6 teams, 2 seeded teams, if Montana somehow goes undefeated, which I don't think they will, I think they'll lose to Montana State. But if they go undefeated, I don't know how you would jump Tarleton above. I think they would jump Montana above Tarleton in that location.
We're going to 2 versus 2. I'm with Kyler. You beat Montana State at the end, they're going to be like, I don't care about that D2 win. And
especially, let's say North Dakota that we were just talking about, let's say they beat SDSU too, right? Now that is a phenomenal win. And it depends on if SDSU can go down to the Allure Center and win. I mean, there looks to be some types of offensive struggles, but if Chase Mason's there, I'm not going to bet against him. So again, I think, but I wouldn't pick Montana on a neutral field versus Tarleton. I think they have too many weapons, and the difference is Montana would start slow like they have all year, and they wouldn't be able to close that gap at the end of the game because Tarleton wouldn't slow down. They're too elite.
There's a weird world, and this will just be a promo for our mock playoff special, which is around the bend. There's a weird world where the South Dakota NDSU are not ranked above the teams we just mentioned in the playoffs, in the semis. That actually is a possibility, but we'll have to see how things play out.
I don't think it's strong. One of them is definitely going to be ranked number 1.
I don't know. Let's see if Grand Forks plays crazy. Who knows?
I'm going with the Bison number 1. Lock it in right now.
All right, fine.
Bet Jamie's hat on it.
I'll agree with you. Keith comes in. Keith always asks the best questions. Not Alex Kenkel up there, the Rev. You literally have a shout out. I need a Southland sermon, he says. Lamar is 6-1, and we have 5-2. Southeastern Louisiana, 5-2. Your SFA and newcomers UTRGV looking pretty good, even though they're not playoff eligible. What a fun conference this year. Break it down and how does it play out? Southland Sermon, that's your show on the FCS Fans Nation Network. Rev, it is your time to shine, my man. What do you got?
Well, first of all, UTRGV is playoff eligible. They can because they're not a transitioning team. They are a new team.
Really?
D1, yes.
Did not know that.
They're not gonna. They've already got conference losses. It's not going to happen. So they're not going anywhere, and they wouldn't get a at large because they basically got diabetes from all the cupcakes they went through to start the season.
Yeah,
so
they played 3 non-D1.
They played 3 non-D1 teams. So that's the thing. Like UTRGV, before we get to that, let me say this. I said before, it's really awesome what's going on in the Valley. Like it really
100%.
is. 100%. But let's also set our expectations here. They played 3 sub D1s and they played Prairie View, who they look good against. And then the moment they got into Southland play, they took some losses. So just leave that as it is. Like great for UTRGV. Hope they enjoy it. And they're probably going to be a force in the next couple of years. So if we go to the rest of the conference, it does come down to SFA, Southeastern Louisiana, Lamar. Southeastern Louisiana, their losses are FBS losses. They didn't have a very strong out of conference schedule though, but Carson Camp has done a good job at the helm. And they've got their defensive players. Caleb Proctor is going to be playing in the NFL next year. I think he might get drafted before Bryce Lance, but that's a really, really hot take because there's going to be a team that needs some defensive players and he's going to look at. So Southeastern Louisiana should be in your top 25 if they're not. SFA, with the game against Nichols, I mean, they completely dominated Nichols until the fourth quarter, which they should have done. In fact, my wife was like, is this game ever going to come down to our side of the field? I was like, no, not while Nichols has the ball and SFA is going the other way. Like it's not going to happen. But SFAs look good. The weird thing is their loss to Abilene Christian now looks a little skewed. Even though they beat the brakes off Incarnate Word, who beat the brakes off of Abilene Christian because Abilene Christian managed to lose. And it's probably going to hurt them a little bit when it comes to looking at anything in the playoffs. But Sam Vidlac, it looks like he's shaking off the injury woes. He's looking solid. Kylon Harris having a great year. Jarrell Wembley, Running back solid. SFA's defense is playing well. They've managed to adjust and help control time possession for the offense. And, this isn't like the previous SFA teams where there's a lot more hype. I think they're solid. They're not going to Nashville. They're probably not going to make it past the second round, but that's a lot better than what they've done in previous years. And then Lamar is interesting to me because Lamar's offense is not good. Aiden McCown's not a bad quarterback. Coleman's not a bad quarterback, although he's injured, so they've been having McCown. But there's Lamar. They're getting these ugly wins that they shouldn't get. Their defense and special teams are what's keeping them in games. And it's really weird because it's hard. They've been everybody's top 25, and you can't punish them, but you can move other teams around them, and by de facto punish them for not beating the brakes off of teams as they should. Let's be honest. They made bad beats. They should. They got lucky. They won that game against East Texas A&M. So, it's the Southland Conference is going to be interesting because it really does come down to those three teams. But SFA and Southeastern don't play each other this year because of the addition of UTRGV. So then it's going to come to probably publicized coin flip of some sort, which Jamie will push for. But it's going to come down to that because I think both SFA and Southeastern can beat Lamar. Especially because the game against Lamar is in Nacogdoches for SFA, and I believe it's in Hammond for Southeastern. So I think Lamar has to go to both. And so to me, it comes down to the Lions or the Lumberjacks.
They'll host Southeastern.
Huh? Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen.
Southeastern and go to NAC.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. I think they will play each other first round. They'll play it in Nacogdoches probably on my birthday, which would be even more fun. That's probably going to be just a locked-in playoff scenario if both teams win out.
That is quite the sermon, and I'm curious, who do you have most confidence in, Rev? If you had to be I think this team's probably taking the Southland title, that's a hard question because it's so close. But who gives you the most good feelings as a balanced, well-rounded team?
I never have good feelings in Stephen F. Austin, so let's just be honest. It's one of those things that the 1 year I thought they were going to do awesome because of what had happened the year before. It was absolute disaster. But I think SFA's offense is really solid. Watching them in person, Vidlak is making some really smart throws. He's done well with controlling the ball better than last year. Like I said, he getting past the injury, looks a lot healthier. Southeastern, though, is interesting because Cell Phone knows how to coach a winning team, and Cell Phone knows how to get into the playoffs. So I'm confident in both. But I think if they were to play head-to-head on a neutral site, I would lean SFA, but a field goal. It would effectively almost be a pick 'em type score.
So for Keith's question, the Southland is still going to be an incredibly fun conference as it goes the rest of the way out. Jamie, Kyler, thoughts on this, what has turned out to be a really, really fun, cool conference this year?
Yeah, I actually am starting to agree with Ron. I don't know about 3 for all those teams, but I definitely think the Big Sky only deserves 3. They'll probably get 4, but I think they only deserve 3. I think the Big Sky sucks this year. But the Southland is interesting, right? There is 3 good teams in the conference. Then you have 2 mediocre teams, and then you have 5 absolute garbage can teams. That's just the reality of the Southland. But I think it's time that we really got to start putting some respect on Southeastern Louisiana's name. Rev was talking about it earlier, but they're undefeated versus the FCS, and they haven't really struggled at all. Now they haven't played anyone. Rio Grande Valley is their toughest opponent they played at the FCS level, but it was 28-7, and the game was kind of over, and they let Rio Grande Valley come within 14 points of them. But the game was one of those games when you're watching it, even if Rio Grande started scoring a little bit, you're like, it's already out of reach. They're not going to be able to come back from this deficit. So it was already a lock pretty much by halftime from what I was watching. They just looked like a much better team. So, I don't know if I'll go with SFA over SLU. That's going to be interesting because, Rev, you said they don't play each other, right? So that's where, man, we wish we had a conference championship because that would be one hell of a conference championship. I don't see any teams really in the Southland competing with those two. Lamar is, probably going to be ranked above both of them. But do I have faith that Lamar is going to go into Nacogdoches and win? No. Do I have faith that Southeastern Louisiana is going to go to Lamar and win? Yeah, I kind of do. I mean, those two teams look like the best. And if those happen, then Lamar probably does get bounced out of the playoffs. Unless the Missouri Valley is getting 5-6 teams in and one of those is South Dakota, then you kind of have to put Lamar in because they at least have that win. So that's where it becomes a little interesting. But the Southland's a weird little conference with a couple really strong teams where it's not like the Southlands in the past where there's one good team and then the rest are dumpster fires. There is a couple pretty solid teams, but they just have too many garbage can teams. I mean, when Weber State beats McNeese is absolutely garbage, right? When Northern Colorado beats HCU, that's garbage. So there's too many garbage teams in the Southland, and I think SFA was in the wrong to leave the UAC. I think they should probably recruit SLU and go back over there, especially when Southern Utah and Dixie State leaves. Sorry, Utah Tech. I'm still going to call you by what you really are. So Dixie State. And hey, there's going to be 2 openings. Maybe go back because I think that would be a way more phenomenal conference and definitely puts them at 3 with a very, very far line between number 4. But at least right now, SFA knows if they stay in the Southland, they are going to be one of the top dogs. Now, one of the questions and comments earlier was Rio Grande is just getting started. They already have the best facilities. Damn right. I think Rev and I are both going to say that is going to be an electric team in the future that him and I are both kind of rooting for. That is a passionate fan base down there with no competition, and they want football. And they're already showing out for the games, beautiful facilities. I think Rio Grande Valley is just going to be one hell of a team to continue to follow. So I'm excited for them, and hopefully that props up. And even though McNeese has been down, it seems like after that hurricane that kind of wiped him out a few years back, there's always chance that McNeese can come back. Right now, they're a dumpster fire. Right now, they're absolutely horrible. Their athletic department is on hiatus. They don't have money, but we all want those fucking Broncos to be back because that was a fun program to watch, right? Back when they were at the top, McNeese was fun, and you didn't want to go down to Louisiana and play them. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, Southland's a little interesting this year.
Yeah, it's funny. Northern Colorado beats Houston Christian. Weber beats McNeese. Eastern beats. No, wait, sorry, they lost to Incarnate Word. My bad. They lost to Incarnate Word. Looked awful on the field. But no, I was gonna say, next year SFA goes to the Valley. I was gonna see if you want to go with me on that trip.
That'd be fun.
Go play.
Yeah, we should.
So yeah, from my side as the associate pastor of the Southland Sermon, Lamar still kind of controls this thing because they play both teams. But that's a game. SFA has to have that game. If SFA loses to Lamar, they could very well get left out because they won't have a signature win. So what they've got left is East Texas, UTRGV, Houston Christian, and Northwestern State outside of Lamar. And they beat Incarnate Word, who cares? But they got the Sewell Ross game. They played at Houston.
They beat
and then they lost to Abilene Christian. So while I think SFA is probably the best team in the Southland, that Lamar game is a must win. And
yeah, for sure.
The road to the Southland title goes through Lamar, whether it's a team beating Lamar or Lamar winning those games. So, yeah, and that's the sad part about SLU and SFA not playing. For all the reasons that Rev and Kyler said. Go ahead, Kyler.
No, I was going to say, I think you're right, though. 8-3, that SFA with that resume, it's just that doesn't cut it unless there's just so much chaos that happened last year, right? There was like 4 teams that were just on the bubble, and they're like, we need all this chaos to happen, and it happened in the last week. But yeah, you're 100% right. That is a must win for SFA.
And the problem too is their loss. Abilene Christian lost some of its shine because Abilene Christian lost to Southern Utah, right? And that hurts especially with them losing also to the University of Incarnate Word. So there's a lot of things. I said this earlier this year though, when SFA was up 14-0 on Abilene Christian came back, beat them 28-20, and demolished them second and third quarter. I said to Jamie, I was like, SFA has to win out in the conference. There's not going to be enough with their out-of-conference schedule to help them because their signature win is Cal Poly at the moment. Because the Incarnate Word win doesn't matter because Incarnate Word is god-awful. Sorry, triumvirate folks. They're bad. So this is one of the things where it does go through Lamar. Lamar could absolutely play spoiler to either one of these teams. But the good thing is that SFA has Lamar at home versus at Provo Sumfree. And that helps, I would say, considerably. But, don't overlook the game the Saturday against East Texas A&M. Carthel used to coach up there. Like there is a little bit of a regional rivalry forming between these two schools. So, and East Texas A&M has shown that Clint Doles has shown that he's going to bring a team that's going to find a way to win. So, it's going to be. There's still a lot of interesting football to play in the conference, I would say.
Let the chaos reign. Would you have ever bet money that this is real? And I double checked this. Here is Southeastern Louisiana, SFA, and Lamar in that order. Here's their offensive rankings. Southeastern Louisiana 38th, SFA 72nd, Lamar 113th. By the way, there's no way I'm banking off a team that is ranked that low. 13 touchdowns.
No.
Listen to this. Defensively, total defense in the FCS, Southeastern Louisiana 25th, SFA 7th, Lamar 39th. I just stated that the top 3 Southland teams all have substantially better defenses than their offense. Never in a billion years would I think that would ever be a narrative, but stats don't lie.
And SLU's defensive numbers are a little skewed because they're 2, FBS games.
Yeah.
Now, again, they have not played anyone, but they are murdering people and just not letting them see the field.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they played LSU, and then they played Louisiana Tech, right?
Yeah.
So without those games, they're probably a top 15 defense in terms of the metrics.
Yeah. They got paid almost $1 million just to get blown out, 40 miles from their house. So good on them for getting their bag.
And the one thing for Lamar is they do have a kicker that can convert.
Yeah.
So and when you get into close games like that, like they had yesterday, and you've got a kicker that can convert from 50, 51 yards, that could become important down the road. And it may be for them. And that's what they might have to lean on, because you see how their offense struggles.
Yep.
And that 113th ranked offense, Matt, was able to go toe-to-toe and beat a top half Valley team. So maybe that offense is just doesn't matter.
Just
the one that you said, the one that you just said, should the Fighting Hawks be worried about, right? All you need is 114th type of offense, and you can come out of that Dakota Dome and win.
You can catch anybody on a bad day. I don't even know what to say to that. I'll just bow out and accept that. That's all right. Touche. Hey, this question's awesome. Here you go. I was really excited about this one. It comes from Paul. He says, who gets left out of a top 8 bid, which means you get a bye, out of 2 Valley, 2 Big Sky, 2 other conferences? Who gets the last 2 spots? Another Valley and Big Sky team or some other non-conference? So I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to set the stage for you guys. We're going to play hypothetically, okay? NDSU has beaten South Dakota State, but then they go get blown out in Grand Forks. South Dakota State wins in Grand Forks, okay? So NDSU, SDSU, they each have 1 loss. Tarleton State goes undefeated. Montana loses to Montana State at the end for their first loss. So Montana State has their 2 losses. Montana's got 1. Let's just call that the top 5. Okay? Let's call that what it is. And now let's go to the final 3 in the top 8. North Dakota, again, I'm going to remind you because their record's going to be the weird one. They have beat North Dakota State by 17. They beat the pants off them. And then they lost to South Dakota State by 14 points in the last game of the season. So that puts them at 9-3. All right, Jamie, I'm going to give you the 6th seed. Rev, I'm going to give you the 7th. And Kyler, I'm going to make it tough on you and give you the 8th. In your own minds, play your own hypotheticals. Who takes those last 3 bid seats based off how you think it's the rest of the year?
I guess it depends on what UC Davis does. But in that scenario, I would say North Dakota is going to be one of those seeds. Who did you say wins the marker?
North Dakota State wins the marker and then goes and gets their pants blown off in Grand Forks. So they have 1 loss.
Okay, so that's a lot of round robin there. You're going to have to go with
and assume Jamie, assume all these teams you're seeing like 6 to 12. Assume they do really well the rest of the year. Just go with that. They do really well.
A win over North Dakota State. North Dakota would have an argument for one of those. That 6 seed, they wouldn't be able to pass Montana most likely because they're going to be right next to each other, and that's going to be your tiebreaker. Should be that head-to-head. So I'll just go ahead and say it would be North Dakota at the at the 6, and I think I know where I'd go for 7 and 8, but I want to hear what the guys have to say.
All right, Rev. North Dakota's at the 6. Who's number 7 then in this situation?
If things progress like they're going to be, it's probably UC Davis, I would think. And then, and also too, just because I know Lehigh is ranked, they're up there, but man, you want to talk about somebody who has had a Charmin super soft schedule. It's Lehigh. So I don't put the value there as much. So I would put UC Davis.
Okay, Kyler, I'm going to give you something here for fun. This does kind of answer Paul's question to say that really it doesn't have a lot of open opportunities for others outside of those top 2 conferences. But I want you to go off of Jamie and Rev, what they just put in with Davis and UND, pick the 8 seed in that scenario, and then if you disagree with them on any of them, tell us why.
I mean, if UC Davis probably loses to Montana State, they could probably drop out or maybe even hang on to that 8 seed, but I don't think they would get much higher than an 8 because they do play Montana State, but I think they avoid Montana, if I remember correctly. So in those hypotheticals, if we're saying Montana State wins, I don't think UC Davis is a 7. I think they'd probably be closer to an 8 at best, but I do agree with Jamie. If that scenario happens on North Dakota, they are probably your 6. And I think that's fair. Now, the team I would want to be 8, because I think they're the 8th best team, is a team that will not get the 8 seed, but that'd be Harvard. They just don't have enough games. I think they could potentially go undefeated, but I don't think they'll have enough games to clinch that 8th seed. So they'll be playing, hopefully at home that first game. So it's between kind of a Lehigh, Tech, and Monmouth. If all things go awry and they all just kind of win their last games, but I think I would lean towards Monmouth. And it's just because Lehigh's strength of schedule will be even worse than Monmouth. I think Monmouth is a better team than Lehigh. So if we were going through these hypotheticals, I think Monmouth would jump up there and probably grab that last 8 seed, even though I think Harvard would beat Monmouth in probably a 14-point win.
I got to respond.
I think you're right.
Juice Master says Montana wins out. This conversation is pointless. Of course, this whole conversation.
Oh, Juice Master.
The whole thing is pointless, but it's just for fun.
Go put some spinach in your bullet and hit it, and have juice, and we'll finish this podcast without you.
It's okay.
He's got it all figured out.
He's popped up on other ones and then disappeared the moment that Montana lost. So,
that's okay. I do agree with Kyler about Monmouth though. Because they've got a real chance to be undefeated against the FCS with just that loss to who are the hell the FBS team was. They played close, but they probably could have won the game. But and Kyler's probably also right that
I'm never wrong.
Might be the 7. And I just see somebody said no love for Tennessee Tech. You're talking to the wrong person there. I love Tennessee Tech.
I'll answer
but that 106 schedule ain't gonna be it, and they'll be at home, but it'll be the first round without a bye.
I can see 10 Tech getting like a 9. No one's been loving Tennessee Tech more than Jamie. He was in the preseason saying this team's the real deal. My former quarterback, Kikoa. So I got love for Tennessee Tech right now too, because I wish Kiko was still on our team. I think it'd make a big difference this year because we actually kind of had a defense that's starting to play a little bit better, which is wild. But I think Monmouth just jumps up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that kind of answers the question of like, if things progress normal, it's going to be a lot of Big Sky and it's going to be a lot of Valley. And we're going to see how things go from there. Throw some Tarleton State in. All right. The last question, guys, that we have in the top 6 topics comes from Kyler Elliott, the cool Kyler. And he says, any surprises with the mid-season FCS rankings? Would you make any changes? Okay. We're going to take the top 10 out. Not even going to allow you to answer this question. We're going to put a Matt tweak on it. And I want to talk that 11 to 25. Do you feel like things are exactly where they should be after a week? Do you think there's been a lot of hate on the rankings and all this stuff? Jamie, I'm going to start with you, man. You are the rankings expert. You're official stats voter, one of the best. What do you think about the current rankings within the FCS?
I have absolutely zero issue with the teams that are in the top 10. I could argue with some of the order, very little argument with some of the order. Maybe some teams up towards the Northwest might have a little bit of an argument for somewhere else. But outside of those 10, those are the 10 teams to me. They really are. Southern Illinois would have been one of those fringe teams for me, but they just yesterday proved that they should be in that next tier. Same with Illinois State. I mean, you're talking Lamar, SFA, Abilene Christian lost. I don't disagree with Kyler's assessment of Harvard. As much as I've loved Tennessee Tech, Kyler's loved Harvard, and he's not wrong. I think Harvard needs Penn to be unbeaten when they play, whenever the heck that is. It might be this week, but that's going to be a good matchup. Penn gave Lehigh all they could handle till the end. But yeah, I mean, I think that's who's in that next group is going to be that Harvard. But Mercer's going to make a run, I think. And as long as Presbyterian then stays unbeaten, that's better for Mercer. They just didn't have the right quarterback in week one. And now that they do, they're kind of on a roll. So, yeah, no real issue. There's some teams on the outside looking in that have a great argument for a first-round home game, but I can't really at this point say anybody else deserves a first-round bye based off what I've seen so far.
Well, the Rev Master, you participate in the polls. You're very vocal about these items. Have things finally settled a little bit here into the rankings where things are making more sense? There's not a lot of debate. I haven't seen a lot of fury and fire besides like an Idaho sticking around in there. Like that's one thing we can all scream about. Everything else looks pretty cut and dry. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody's starting to sort of settle down, which is what you would expect by mid-October, which is why we shouldn't have. I'm kidding, but when we look at when you look at the committee's top 10, I think they did just fine on it. Yeah, I could see moving around one or two, but I think for the most part they nailed the 10 teams at the moment. So, no, I think everybody's good. I think it's going to be interesting to see how let's say the 9 through 16 plays out, especially when it comes to who's getting that home game first round. I think that's going to be probably more amusing to see versus the top 8. Because I think by the time we get to the last week, we're going to, for the most part, have the top 8 locked in. Just maybe a little shuffling of placement based upon results. But no, I think we're finally kind of settled down now. But if I see some idiot rank Idaho in a poll, I'm going after them on social media this week. Like just straight out.
Someone will, and his name is going to be Kyler. Let's keep him up there, baby.
You've got your ranked win. Just let them go.
Hey, my season's over. Got my ranked win. That's all that matters.
That's right.
Kyler, I'm recognizing now that cool Kyler was he may have been talking about these playoff committee top 10 or maybe the top 25. I assume it is the playoff committee top 10. So I don't leave him out in the dark with that. What did you think about those top 10 seedings for those rankings this week?
I think the top 10 is fair. My thing is I just when I'm looking at maybe Lehigh, I think Lehigh gets beat by every one of those top 10 teams. I'm going to be honest. And I think there's even a few that are outside the top 10 that probably Lehigh loses to as well. But Lehigh's a good team. I rank them at 14, and I think that's realistically where they probably lie this year. So, but that's my only flack with this. I know people are mad about the Tarleton. I would put them at 3 for right now if the playoff committee had to rank it, or maybe Montana State above them. The rest, I'm also not sold quite on UC Davis. I don't think they're a top 8 team, and I think they'll kind of get a little bit exposed by Montana State. But in terms of where the teams are right now with their current resumes, I don't have a lot of qualms with this top 10, and I think they did a pretty dang good job. Again, outside of maybe Lehigh, but they are undefeated versus the FCS. They do have a good win in Penn. That is looking better. I put Penn as my number 25 team in my ranking this week. So they do have actually a good win. But other than that, I mean, I think everyone else in this top 10 just beats them.
I think I'm calling it now. I think Lehigh loses to Lafayette when they have the game at the end of the year.
Very well could.
Well, my takeaway with this to end our top 6 is I think they're already hinting at who we talked about earlier, at what UND could be right there. They're ahead of Monmouth. They're ahead of Tennessee Tech. with 2 losses. And I think that kind of hints, boy, you upset one of those Dakotas, you're probably going to have a chance at a bye when it comes to playoff time.
Oh yeah, if they beat one of the Dakotas, they're in. I would say it's a lock.
Absolutely. Well, we got time to get there, and we have a fun bet tonight. I'm excited for you guys to guess this one.
Taco King, coming to you from bright and sunny Fargo, North Dakota. It's time for a taco bet, and time for you losers to pay up.
Brian intros us in. Here you go. Jeremiah Rash, probably the best fan on planet Earth. He says, have the 3 Dakota teams separated themselves from the rest of the Valley as the top contenders? Then he goes, yes, LOL, of course. But then he asked this, and this is what gets us our taco bet. Southern Illinois, Illinois State, and Youngstown are fighting for that 4th best in the Valley in a playoff spot. Who comes out on top between these 3 teams? It's a great question. So the taco bet tonight is who you believe will be that 4th Valley team, and you have to pick between those 3. For some context, here is Southern Illinois' last 3 weeks. Southern Illinois will play Youngstown State, South Dakota, and Illinois State. So that's probably going to determine a lot. USD has 4 games remaining, and 3 of those opponents are going to be against top 10 Illinois State, top 10 North Dakota, top 10 South Dakota State. And Youngstown probably has the better path. They will play Murray State, go to Northern Iowa and Indiana State, but they get North Dakota State and Fargo, and Southern Illinois will travel to them. So it appears the Penguins have a little bit of an advantage. Hearing that information, Jamie Taco Bet, who's the 4th one out of that crew?
Whoever wins the Youngstown Southern Illinois game, in my opinion, whoever that happens to be,
you got to pick it.
I'm going to. Let me build it up here, man.
You got to pick it.
I'm going to pick it. The game is out in the Rust Belt of Ohio, where nobody lives, or if they do live there, they wish they didn't. But I do think Youngstown State will win that game. They're very Jekyll and Hyde type of team, but I think they're probably the 4th best Valley team. And if anybody puts South Dakota in that effing discussion for this, just stop. They're going to lose to all those teams. They should be out of everybody's ballot, but don't worry. They've squeaked past the likes of Indiana State and whoever the hell
15.
else. They stayed in there because, slot voters just keep them in there. They're not that damn good. They're going to finish, let's see, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, maybe 8th or 9th in the Valley. But, yeah, the 4th best team to me, I think, is Youngstown, as long as Bo Brungard doesn't get hit after his 465th carry of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, holy cow. What do you think there, Rev? You agree?
Yeah, I think it does come down to the winner of Youngstown State, and I'm taking the team who is as Jekyll and Hyde as the 2 sides of their stadium, and that is Youngstown State. For the love of God, guys, even out your stadium. Okay, the fact that you have one side that's massive, one side that's tiny is ridiculous. But
I resemble that remark.
But I mean, their home side of their stadium is built like Brian Thompson, and the other side is built like Chris Hammond. So, but to the point, I think it's just, I think Youngstown State's at the moment is looking just like the better team out of those. But again, they've also got to keep their players healthy. You can't run your players into the ground, and that's what they seem like they want to do. So I think as of now, I would take Youngstown State. And if, to Jamie's point, if anybody says South Dakota again, I'm going to find them and smack them on the nose with a rolled up newspaper.
Well, I got to be fair to Jeremiah. He did not say South Dakota. He said Illinois State. I may have just gone down the other rabbit hole. Illinois State, also a good viable option.
I'm going to roll up a newspaper in National and smack you on the nose then for doing that.
Kyler, what do you think?
I don't think the other 2 are wrong when we're talking about the game that it comes down to, but I do think they are wrong when it comes down to who's going to come out on top of that game. Youngstown State, I think we're all just forgetting they were a field goal away from losing to Towson, right? Youngstown State, they've said it. They are Jekyll and Hyde, right? They're kind of playing to the level of their competition. They struggled against one Pioneer League school. They struggled against Elon. They haven't looked that good, but then all of a sudden they played well against SDSU, and now we're all thinking, all right, they're all right. And then they just beat Illinois State, which I don't think Illinois State's that good.
They just beat Northern Iowa by 3
Northern
points.
Iowa. Okay.
Now they
Who cares?
host, or no, I'm sorry. Nope. Take that back. Keep going, Kyler. I'll find it.
I was gonna say, I don't have a lot of faith in Youngstown State. I think Southern Illinois is still the better team, and I think if they face each other, I would take the Salukis. There's a reason why the helmet's there. It's not just because Jeremiah Rash, even though he's the one who did send it to me. So maybe it is just because Jeremiah Rash. But I think they got the coolest logo. I love their white jerseys. But I just actually think Southern Illinois is a better team than Youngstown State. There's too many flukes with that Youngstown State coming out on top when they probably shouldn't have. And that's going to bite them in the ass when they play good teams back-to-back. Again, Matt alluded to it. Last 5 games is a little bit easier because they already played 2 of the toughest teams in the Valley, 2 of the top 3. But I think that NDSU game is going to be a blowout. And then Southern Illinois right after that, or 2 games after, I think they're already going to be mentally defeated. And give me the Salukis on top.
Salukis finishing out. I like the Salukis too. I like them to actually. UND might just be better than we realize, and I think we're all coming to that conclusion. I still like what I saw of the Salukis. I think there's still a lot of talent there. So, Jeremiah, I'm going to give your dogs a shout out. See what will happen in the Valley as we roll on out.
Just because your question is answered quickly doesn't mean we don't care. It's time for this week's quick hit questions.
Okay, I know that we could get down the rabbit hole on some of these quick hits. So I'm going to give one to each of you, and then you guys can go from there. And I'm going to give this one, since it's asked by Rev, to Kyler. One add-on question, says the Rev, is Dr. Luke Wood doing more harm than good to Sac State right now? Harm or good? What do you think?
There's 2 sides of the story, right? Any news is good, or any press is good, right? If it's negative, if it's positive, he is getting clicks. I will say that. I think he's an absolute tool and a nut job, and I think I called him numbnuts on Twitter yesterday because I was a little annoyed by his comment, because this is also not even good trolling. Come up with a better joke than Panda. I mean, that's stupid. Come on, you can be better than that. Oh, he just was trolling Montana, going, the Montana Pandas. Oh, I guess they're Grizzlies. They just haven't played anyone, so it's going to suck for those fans to come down here and lose to us. But their strength of schedule is pretty similar. If you look at it, it's just the South Dakota State's really making it in favor of one. But Montana schooled the team that you lost to. So shut up, Mr. Woods. But again, if you're looking at, is he generating money? Is he generating clicks? Is he generating publicity? 100%. And that's kind of what you want from a president if you want your athletics to continue to soar. But sometimes you got to just put your foot in your mouth and shut the hell up. And I think he's doing a little bit of disservice to the teams, because now they were already hated. Now they're more hated. Now everyone wants to beat them, right? So I think if he just would have just done the part, maybe trolled a little bit, maybe kicked it back when they realized Sac State wasn't that good, you could still generate your money. You can still generate the clicks. You could still get Sacramento State to be an FBS team. I mean, you got Shaquille O'Neal you hired Mike Bibby. You've got these awesome hires that, is turning around the athletic department for at least clicks and revenue. But sometimes you just need to shut the hell up. And again, or just be a better troll job. Maybe he can come on here and we can teach him how to troll.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that, because you talk about the money. The ESPN 30 for 30 on their NIL lack of money is going to be amazing when that comes out, because that has to be one.
It is.
And Shaq will donate.
Shaq will drop the cash.
Yeah, his kid plays there. He's going to donate.
Paul says, how high can Lehigh, Tennessee Tech, or any of the CAA teams get in rankings when you look at those 3-4 lost Missouri Valley teams, looking at Youngstown, Southern Illinois, possibly USD? Jamie, we kind of have that through the committee's eyes that those teams should be fine if they're undefeated. Yes, no?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're looking at the 3 or 4 lost Valley teams, those 3 teams, we'll make the CAA team Monmouth. They're going to be ahead of them. How it's going to be.
Yep. Rev, you are quite the connoisseur. Is that the right word, maybe? For all drinks.
Wow.
You can mix up anything.
My mom's probably going to laugh at that if she sees that, but go on.
Asking for the Idaho fans out there, says Dan, which bottle of whiskey would you all recommend to forget a football game ever happened? Kudos to the Eagles on a great victory.
I only drink Irish whiskey, so that would be my go-to. Jameson Powers, Tullamore Dew is not worth it, in my opinion. there's a thing called Jameson crest that you can get shipped from Europe to the U.S. if you live in a state that will allow it to arrive, and that is the absolute best stuff on the planet. So if you live in a state where you can ship it from Europe, I recommend doing it.
Very well. See, you are pretty fancy. Preston Adams back on FCS Gold. Love you,
Let's go,
Preston.
Preston.
Congrats to your
Preston.
Dukes for dominating the Fun Belt. Does
Damn
the
right.
Ivy League have a legitimate shot, Kyler Neal, at 2 playoff teams? If Penn loses to Harvard and the Crimson run the table, their only losses could potentially be to 2 seeded playoff teams. What do you think? Any shot for the Ivies?
Probably not, just because they do not play preseason, right? I think the Ivy League is good enough to have 2 teams. I really do, especially, if they play the NEC, the CA, they would have more wins than they have losses. But at the end of the day, when you only play 8 games, you're going to get 1 team. And you can think that's fair. You can think that's BS. But that's up to the Ivy Leagues to start playing more football. You guys are the ones that are hurting yourself. So, no, I think Penn, after they lose to Harvard, will be left out. And I don't think anyone else from the Ivy League would get to that top 24.
1 for the Ivy. Tim Rask, Jamie Williams. Is there any competition for Caden Pinnock for the Jerry Rice Award? Who else has a shot?
Yeah, there's competition. I do think it is a 3-man race. I think Caden Pinnock is probably the favorite. I think he's actually the 3-time Big Sky Player of the Week winner. But let's talk also about Braden Atkinson, the quarterback from Mercer, who started week 2 and has done nothing but win every game and be the leader of that team. And then the Carlton running back Trey Page III, who went right on the scene his first game of the year and has not slowed down yet. I think you got a three-man race for that award. Who am I going to vote for? I guess you'll have to find out in another month and a half. When the season's complete. But yeah, there's certainly competition for Caden Pinnock. Do I think he's the favorite? Yes, I think so as of this point. But there's still 4, 5, 6 weeks left for somebody to change my mind.
Very cool. Can Dayton beat Presby? Rev, this is your question. Do you think Dayton has a shot here at home against Presbyterian this weekend?
Dayton's looked good. Like, for a Pioneer team, they've actually looked pretty good. But Presby, man, they're another level. The thing is this, like, I don't necessarily actively want Presbyterian to lose, but their fans annoyed the ever-living piss out of me for half this season that I want to see them lose just for that reason alone. Like, it's nothing against the staff or the players or their insane-looking kilted mascot that they have. It's just their fans that were like, Presbyterian should be ranked 25th when they had 2 Division I wins at the time. Like, stop. Yeah, I get that your team is good for once, but tone it down. You don't have to do that. So, do I think Dayton can do it? Yes. Do I think they're going to do it? No.
All righty. If you could describe the Dakota Marker rivalry in 1 word this season, what would it be, says Kyler Elliott. Okay, here's my only insight. Nashville. I think the winner of this game will go quietly in their fan circles when they're actually being biased, will go, oh, hell yeah. It doesn't matter what happens at Grand Forks. We're going to be at home. Who's going to beat us? So the 1 word I would say would be Nashville for this year. If the FCS did a March Madness style bracket for best helmet design, who's your number 1 seed? This is a great question. Around the horn, absolutely. Kyler Neal, I know your answer, but I want to hear it.
What's my answer?
I'm going to give you a hint. Jeremiah Rash, right?
No, but I do love the Salukis.
You love the Salukis helmet.
I love my helmet. There's a little bit of a bias there, but the throwback from UCA Bears, I think when they had the white on whites, those things were just phenomenal. I don't know are you trying to pull it up right now?
Yes, sir.
Those UC Bear throwback old school logo was one of the coolest helmets that I've seen.
The running bear.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely sweet. The purple bear, they got the little whoosh behind him because he's running so fast. I mean, it looked phenomenal.
Yeah, this is, I don't care how long we delay things.
Not that. That's a lot of northern Colorado. Oh, no, not that.
There it is.
You got to get the running bear design.
It's this sucker, but it won't let me click into it.
Now, I don't like that helmet, that style of the helmet, but just have a nice, clean white helmet with that logo, man. That thing is sweet.
Very cool. Rev, what do you got?
Man, the problem is I can't pick one. I love the running bear. I love Mississippi Valley State's logo as a whole. I love that logo. I know folks hate it. I love it. And to another point, one I love that people hate is I love Arkansas Pine Bluffs. I absolutely love that line.
Wow.
I love the way it's so ugly. It's awesome. The way they put UAPB into the main.
In the main. Hell yeah.
Is solid. Like it's so like I love creative things like with the logo, like the way like Utah Tech has Utah in the negative space, even the way Eastern Washington has the eagle shape as EWU. Like I love things like that, and that's what stands out to me is when you're creative. So those would be my top 3. I love that logo. I don't care what anybody says. I think it's great, especially if you look at it and you see that it does say UAPB.
It's too messy.
Main. So is your football
make
field.
A point. No, that's too messy. Can I throw out a secondary one that is just going to be revealed this week?
Of course.
Honestly, I love, my school did it last year too. It's like the Native American remembrance. But Montana State's new one, I don't know if you've seen that. That thing is sweet looking. I mean, how they designed it, that is a beautiful looking helmet. And they did a great job also honoring, the Native Americans in that area, the tribes. But I think that one is absolutely stunning. I think that's a good helmet. Now, screw you, Bobcats. I hope you lose every day of your life. But that is a cool helmet.
This doesn't do it justice.
That one.
But
it's so good.
Yeah.
The actual real helmet that they showed
is sick.
So much better.
It's really cool. Jamie, what do you got?
I kind of love the white South Dakota State with the big rabbit on it.
That one's sick too.
Yeah,
I like that one.
I absolutely hate so much that you said that, Jamie, because I was about to blow people's minds, and I have said this before on other podcasts. I think the South Dakota State Jackrabbit helmet with the rabbit on the helmet is one of the coolest ones in all of college football. Yep,
yeah,
I'm with you.
Sick.
I think that thing is freaking awesome.
I like both of their rabbit logos.
I do too.
And they do a good job of making a rabbit look kind of like intimidating, whereas like a rabbit is like the sissiest like an animal, and they're only 1 point on Oregon Trail. So
Patrick also comes in the comments and agrees with South Dakota State. Some cool helmets in the FCS. I hope we get more designs. All right, 3 fun ones to round out a fun podcast. Kyler Elliott says, if the FCS did a March Madness style bracket for best helmet design, who's your number 1 seed? So
didn't we just do that?
The South Dakota State white one with the rabbit.
There you go. Okay, so hold on. That's the full question. So originally it was give me your helmet, and we just named them all. So who is the number 1 seed out of those? So who do we have? Yeah.
Well, I think the 2 bottom seeds are the ones Rev picked. I think those are the ugliest helmets known to man.
Oh,
gross.
You play on a red field. Shut up. Like, don't even talk about ugly, my guy. Like, your team is on the ugliest field.
And your team's barely played football the whole time they've been in a program, so it's okay. We've only not been playing football recently.
Your 1 seed has got to be, I think it's got to be Central Arkansas. I like the South Dakota State one too, but that UCA old school bear.
It's so cool.
It incorporates everything. So there you go. We'll give them that shout out. Last 2 are from you, Rev. What's a movie you've never seen but everyone else on the planet has? Yours is super bad. I know some of Jamie's. They're going to piss me off just to hear them. I can't believe you haven't seen Superbad, that's the reply to everybody's answer for this. Okay, Jamie, just remind everybody what you haven't watched so I can just be mind blown.
Jurassic Park, isn't it?
Like hell, I watched Jurassic Park every time it's on.
I think it's Titanic, right?
It's Titanic.
You've never seen Titanic.
I have not seen Titanic. No, and when it first came out, because I was like 16 when this thing came out. I went by the movie theater, and there's a line of people because that's when you still had to go up front and pay for your tickets, and they gave you an actual ticket in the 90s. I just drove by. I said, "Don't waste your time. The damn boat sinks," and then I drove off, and I still haven't watched that movie.
Oh man,
it's a good movie.
It's a good flick. I have never seen. I've never seen any of the Die Hards, and
wow.
I've never watched any of the Jaws, so I've never seen the shark movies. And I've never seen the Die Hards, so there you go.
Jaws is the best 4th of July movie there is.
I hear about the Die Hard Christmas movie, and I do not understand it, but one of these days I'll get to it. Kyler, what is it? How are you going to disappoint us?
I mean, I've seen a lot of movies, but so maybe it's not even as popular as I think it is. But one movie that I've wanted to see and just have never got around to it. And every time I even highlight it, I just scroll past it and I find another one. Because I love action movies, but I haven't seen any of the John Wicks. And everyone says they're some of the best action movies. Just have never seen them. And I want to, because it seems like it's right up my alley. I just have never seen them.
They're overblowing it for 2, 3, 4, whatever. But
The first one was good.
just the first.
That's what
one
everyone
was-
says. Yeah, they said the first one's amazing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'd kill people for my dog too. So I got 3 dogs up here. So I get it, but I still have never seen it.
Adam Harms, them are fighting words. South Dakota Air Guard over North Dakota Air Guard. Oh. Okay, to be fair, if you guys do a flyover, it's an F-16. If we do a flyover, it's a drone and no one hears anything. So I guess I'll give you kudos to that on a football standpoint. Last one, Rev. What's your favorite bad movie that's a guilty pleasure? Yours is Mystery Alaska.
Mhm.
Mystery Alaska.
Yes, it is
Wow.
it is a bad hockey movie that had Russell Crowe and Hank Azaria and what's
Look
it?
out
Mary
for the
McCormick.
Rangers.
Yeah, Mary McCormick was an absolute babe back then. Like it's not a good movie, but I thoroughly enjoy it. Like Captain Ron. Captain Ron's a terrible movie, but I thoroughly enjoy that movie too.
Jamie, guilty pleasure movie. What do you got?
I mean, anytime they're on, I'll watch either the shit. It just left me. One where they steal the damn Declaration, National Treasure.
National Treasure.
I'll watch
Oh,
both of those
yeah.
anytime they're on.
That's not a bad pick. Kyler, what do you have?
I have 2 guilty pleasure ones that are horrible movies, and I absolutely love them. And I
Legally
think they're
Blonde,
the
isn't it?
funniest movies. No, but I think they're the funniest movies. of all
Twilight.
time.
No.
One of them is Out
Haven't
Cold,
seen that.
greatest
Oh,
movie of all
great
time.
movie.
How Cold is a great movie.
It is such a
Never seen it.
stupid movie. It's one of the best. And then the other one, I will watch it every single time it's on. Not Another Teen Movie is by far the funniest movie of all time. And I know it's so bad, but that is the greatest movie of all time. Not Another Teen Movie
Might
is
as well
a
watch
10 out of
Van
10.
Wilder.
So I had to literally Google what is a guilty pleasure movie to like figure out what the context
Be
of this
careful
whole thing
which
is.
site you go to for that one.
All I gotta
Yeah,
say is
Red's
Careful, Rack's in the chat.
I don't know if it lands. I don't know if it counts in the category, but this is. I showed my wife 3 years into our relationship this movie, and she was like, "Wow, I can't believe I never saw it." Which is Armageddon. It was on the list, and that is freaking just absolutely
watch that.
outstanding.
I'll watch
So-
that movie every time it's on.
So
Too.
bad.
That just don't want to miss a thing every time.
It
Defense
just
Uh,
makes no
better.
sense. They're like, hey, we should train oil guys to go to space instead of just astronauts to drill. Makes
It's
no sense.
beautiful.
But I still like the movie.
Yeah,
Damn
when we
right.
lived in a time when you could just do ridiculous stuff and we didn't overthink it. I love it.
I will
You
say
don't have
that
to CGI everything.
Yep.
in terms of like something happening, like like asteroid hitting Earth or some sort of natural disaster, that wasn't near as bad as Dante's Peak was. That was probably the
So
most
good.
god awful movie.
That
ever
movie
made.
is
awesome.
And my geology professor would show it every year, and he'd say, "Watch James Bond drive on lava," and that's how he would tag it every year.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
As someone from the Northwest who had to deal with hurricanes and lahar drills, Dante's Peak was a documentary. We would study that just in case.
Just
All
like my
right,
sister-in-law
gentlemen.
should study San Andreas, right?
Exactly.
Oh yeah, that's also another one.
We've
Okay,
gone off the rails.
quickly around. We're gonna keep it under 90. That gives you each about 30 seconds. Mine comes tomorrow night. Pick the marker, Kyler. What do you got?
I think the most complete team in the nation is NDSU, and I don't think they drop this one. Give me NDSU, get the 1 seed, and win a natty in Nashville and go undefeated.
What do you have there, Rev? Marker time.
While I think NDSU probably, in my heart, I think they're going to win it. I'm going to pick SCSU just to stand different from Kyler and Jamie, just to have a little variety in there. If Chase Mason can play, it's going to be a complete different ball game, and I really do like SCSU's defense. But so my heart, I guess, would say SCSU, and my head says NDSU. But I'm going to, for the purpose of this, I'm going to take SCSU just to have some fun with it.
Greatest mascot storm of a field ever. Jamie, the marker game. What do we got?
Well, first, I want to thank my buddy Alex Kinkle for coming on and my place last week. Did an awesome job. If you didn't see that episode, go back and check it out. Even though they have never invited me on Jackrabbit Illustrated, that's okay.
Oh,
That's
man.
okay. That's
There's
okay.
not enough
I'm
of a
not that bitter.
PW like I am.
Not that bitter, but just because of that, NDSU wins by 14 points.
Oh, shoot. Just a reminder.
Oh, my God.
If you want to hear the unbiased Bison admin, myself's prediction, and all the breakdown with the Jack Rebel Illustrated guys, tomorrow night, this channel, YouTube, FCS Fans Nation Network, 9:30 Central. It'll be a blast. All right. That brings us to the end. We want to thank the Rev for joining us this evening. All our live viewers, they continue to go up, up, up. And we are rolling quick into a few weeks left before we start thinking playoffs. Thanks for joining the FCS Fans Nation podcast. We'll catch you after the action. We'll catch you next week. Oh.